Hi, this is a recording especially for Sumit on the E2I sample application. This is the grant application process which we have been discussing. A simple walkthrough of the process as well as how to execute this uh, particular process is what I'm going to cover in this. The first thing to remember is for PCS there are two URLs that one should be knowing. One is a composer, the one over here, and the other one is a workspace. It will be just the same followed by a workspace. So, like I said, this is the composer URL. The same way the BPM/workspace is a workspace URL. Now, I'll tell you exactly what these are. The composer is the place where a business analyst or a developer will come in and design the processes or attach the services these processes consume, etc. And it is through this console that we actually go ahead, test it, and then deploy it onto the backend servers, which are all like simple clicks, which doesn't require any amount of coding at all to do a deployment or a testing utility in this. And once deployed, and if tasks are assigned to these particular users, whoever is logged in over here, and if he has the privilege to start certain processes, he can start. And then if certain processes during a particular step gets assigned to this user, he can log in into the work on task section and see all the tasks that are assigned to him. So this is pretty much, he can track previous instances what he has worked on, and he can also view some simple dashboards which are related to the business activity monitoring system and the configuration. If he has the privilege, he can go ahead and change or add in new users or backend services, or if you want a dedicated document handling system, you could go ahead and plug in that, or an integration platform needs to be plugged in. All this can be configured by the configuration. Not all users have all these lists enabled, but most of the users by default will be having work on task option, because that is the role which every user who logs in into workspace is at some point required to be acting on. So let's come back to the process that we have been discussing. This is called a E2I sample application. This is nothing but I'm just opening this in the composer right now. So over here you can see all the versions, that how many versions of it is there, what is the recent activity that has happened to it, some basic configuration if you want to do. But since we are from development thing, we might little bit more into this particular process. So over here you can see all these are the different aspects of this composer section. For a process, you can design any number of processes. You can design the forms, which are also drag and drop. You can have business types, those are nothing but the fields. Let's say an employee has age, name, and address fields. So all this comes under employee business type. Then some decision models can be created. Then some external integrations. Now, if you want to have KPIs assigned to it, you can use indicators over here. So all these are the different uh, possibilities like while working with the processes. So now let me just open quickly the process that we have for grant. So in grant request process, if you can see over here, every process starts with either a initiator, and it's nothing but it could be like you log in into the workspace and then you say I need to see the list of processes that I can start. Those are like buttons. I can click on it, a form pops up, I fill in a couple of details and start a process. That is one approach. You could start a process in any number of ways. It could be even while documents get uploaded into a particular folder, a process is in the background triggered. So document based, event based, and right now what I have over here is a message base. A message base is nothing but it is a simple SOAP web service that is exposed to the external world. So whoever consume it with the right authentication can invoke this particular process. So right now in the scenario is that this will be done by the CX, and in this particular demo, since we are not having CX, it will be done using a SOAP testing utility, which is a third-party open source utility called SOAP UI, which we will use to trigger this process from an external world. So once this process gets triggered, this is nothing but a grant application as we discussed. So grant application has, let's say, a couple of fields regarding a particular applicant, his name, age, address, salary, uh, some organizational details, and etc. Just gonna open a sample form. You can design any number of different UIs across this process, but I'm just opening one. And this is just the preview of it, how it will look. And this has not been done by any coding at all. It's all drag and drop. And over here, you can see a template of how this should look like. The organization IDs, the relevant field, and some documents. If you're planning to attach from the CX, you can pass it over as link. And this is pretty much how it will look like. So I'm just closing it for now. So it's age, address, email, and organization activities, like I said. So coming back to our process, I'll just quickly walk through this process. So if you see once via an external source, that web service, some parameters are passed with the right authentication, it will trigger this process. It comes to an officer who will evaluate this particular grant request. He will be seeing the web form I just showed you now, and he'll take a decision whether it has all the basic criterions and inputs necessary for a proper grant application. If it is approved. Otherwise, it is rejected, which goes to a request agent. A request agent could be anybody within the current organization, but someone who will be reaching out to the particular applicant. So he will be reaching out to the applicant during various other stages, which I'll walk you through. Once this is proper, a low report entry needs to be run. And it's nothing but in the current scenario, we are just going to update a database. Assuming tomorrow there might be a low reporting agent or a service that we will update it to. Right now, I've just mapped it to a database which will just update this particular initial grant request and keep from where the low report can be generated. Secondly, once that is done, it automatically moves on to an officer in charge who again verifies and attaches all the documents necessary for this particular user. And once that has been done, it needs to go through the approval cycle. Right now in our flow, we have designed a linear cycle. Like it first comes to say this TL for an approval, and later to CEO after the TL approves. But if needed, we can do both simultaneously. Right now it is a sequential approval. At any stage somebody is not approving it, he or she can go ahead and can reject it, where the officer in charge, it will reach back to the officer in charge, where he will look into the comments or whatever is the reason that they cannot approve, and if possible the officer in charge can submit the new reports or attachments that is relevant. And basically it goes through the similar. Once all the approvals are necessary received, it goes to the print and courier section, or it could be your printer printing guys. They will fill in all the details of the courier, what packets they have been sending across, and once that is done, an email is sent with all the courier details and whatever is necessary that needs to be sent in an email to inform the particular requester about a courier being dispatched. Once, and what he needs to be doing once the courier is received. It might be probably that there might be more information they have requested and asking you. So It might be more information that has been requested. So once that and a responding email ID or mail address that is provided. So once it is received, it comes back to the officer in charge, and he or she looks into this particular details that has been sent. He'll scan and upload it back into the PCS with the relevant case. And once that is received, it goes to the finance for an approval. If all the things are satisfactory, this finance approves. Otherwise, it comes back for another round. If not, once all the approvals are necessary received, they in this current scenario, the dispersal of grant happens, or we update a system that this grant request is a valid one, and it is updated in our current database, and an email is sent to the grant applicant that your addition application has been approved and you have been entered in our system. So this is pretty much the basic walkthrough of our process. And once all the necessary things have been configured, we have deployed it. So like I said, once deployed, everything moves on. Like, you need to work on the tasks from the workspace over here. And since I already said this is an externally triggered task, which is a WSDL or a web service that's been exposed, um, within the console you will receive the endpoint URL. So you can see all the deployed, and from the management utility, I can just click on this and get the web service. This is nothing but the endpoint of this application, which can be exposed to any third-party application to invoke. And if you can see over here, I had a okay loan application, not that. So grant request service. So this is the particular WSDL that we will be using in our SOAP UI. So we'll be using this particular WSDL, which we have it from our management utility. And I'll just show you how we trigger the SOAP UI. So the WSDL that we had, we have configured, we have just opened it in SOAP UI, and we are opening the grant request processing. Over here, we open a start process, and you can pretty much see this on the SOAP UI. I've just given some credentials which are necessary to authenticate when the service is coming in to the system. And this is nothing but the SOAP envelope body. I've just added some information to it, which I'm gonna be testing. Let's see. So 100,000. Just we see some dummy display image. I've just given my mail ID. I'll just give test user SGHI. Some message that needs to be passed. Some URLs from the docs which CX has used to upload can also be referred over here. So let's just test the service. So from here we can see the response that has been received back, that it's a 202, it has been accepted, and looks like things have okay with it. So let's see what happened in the system. Now if you remember in our process flow, which is in the composer, I'm just a message would have invoked it and it would have come to a evaluation step, which is a human task. So all the green are a human task. So I come to a workspace. Suppose that one user who is having that particular role logs in and he opens this work item list. Out of the many work items he is assigned to, he should be able to see this particular. I think this is the name we have given. evaluate test user grant application. Now if you see, this was the parameters that we had entered, and everything is reflecting onto the screen. So we have all the informations. I can add some comments. Okay, the comment is also recorded in the system. Okay, this is the history of it. You can see when it has been started, what is the task number, and other details to it if someone needs it. Now, if you see, it is a decision making step, whether it needs to be approved or rejected. Let's just approve it quickly. So upon approval, if you see, the next step is it will make a database entry and come to the officer in charge. Since it has been assigned to the all the roles are to the cloud admin, this will be there with the cloud admin as well. I'm just refreshing my task list since it has just happened a couple of seconds back. Now if you see, for test user, provide the remaining documents if required. So that is the our step after evaluation that we have reached to. So let's say some documents needs to be attached at this level. So this guy reaches out or calls up, and using the PCS document handling part, you can just go ahead and upload some documents that are relevant. It can be any number of documents. Okay, so now we have a couple of documents added to this case, and let me just submit it for the other approvals. So if you know, you can actually see that after officer in charge, if it's a vanilla step it is following, it will go to other levels of approvals sequentially. And if you see, there is one more way a user can track this using the tracking utility to know where exactly is that particular case which I worked on. So right now I know this is the last case, would be the one, case number 139. And if you remember, this was the comments that we had posted at that point of time, and I just want to see where exactly it is right now in the process flow. So it is lying at the TL approval step. So all these steps looking green means everything has been fine. Okay, so now let's work on the remaining tasks and approve them on the flow. So coming back, if you see, yep, approval required for a level for grant application of test user. If you remember, that's a user we had given, and this is the particular instance ID. Now this user can see all the documents that was attached. If it looks satisfactory, he can go ahead and approve them. At any point it is rejected, it will come back to the particular step over here, officer in charge, and he will have to look into it and submit it or reject it accordingly. So right now, once that approval is done, I'm just refreshing the task list so that it updates. Yep, so it has come for another level of approvals. Just opening that. Okay, it is at another level approval stage, and it looks like the previous one has been approved. So this guy also looks into the documents and he looks happy with it. He can actually download these documents over here. You see, it's downloaded. Okay, and it looks okay for him. He approves it. So if you know, the next step after approval is print and courier. So in print and courier section, the printing, it will be sent for the couriering department after the printing. So the courier department might share the tracking numbers or stuff across. So that might be handled. ID 23456, address as per the form, date of delivery plus 2 days. Okay, so the courier department, once it has been couriered, they will clear this case from their desk by from the task list by submitting it. Okay, this looks cleared. This step, using our mobile application, the courier department can do it even using the more handsets. They can even capture the courier tracking ID using the mobile cams and attach it as documents within the step as a proof. And once we know after the courier has been sent, it will come and exist with the requester agent. So once the applicant comes back with the relevant information or documents, he looks through it and uploads more documents which are necessary. So let's say this guy wants to upload a few more. So this person has also uploaded more documents and submitted it for a finance level approval. So once received with the finance, the next couple of steps are also quite straightforward. If finance finds any issues, they will reject it. If it looks okay, they'll go ahead and update the disposal of grant section, and finally a notification email is sent to the particular applicant. Okay, so it will be right now. This case should be with the yes. Upload the documents for the test user. And after upload, it just gets submitted. Okay, so finally it has come to the finance for a final approval. I just go ahead and approve it. So the next steps are automatic, so no human intervention is required. I'll just go ahead to tracking to see what is the current status of this. I believe it, since it has been completed, it might not be listed in the active ones. I'll just add a completed list. Yep, you can see that this has got completed now, and I'll just track this, what is the current state of it and what path it has followed. You can see over here all the information required is listed in this particular flow. The green is the symbol through which this particular process has been moved forward. So it has come to a finance approval. It has gone to a dispersal of grants, database updation, and email notification agent has been invoked and comes to a conclusion. So this is pretty much about how to execute this particular workflow, and any other questions, let me know. I am available to help you out on this. Okay.